Let's get sunny. Sunny side up.
Hi everyone, it's Sunny Side Up here, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of math. Today we are going to be learning about order of operations. Here's a little suggestion. If you want a little challenge to yourself, you can listen to my description of how to do things, and then try and do the problem on your own. Especially the last one, it's a real doozy. Okay, so what we have on the board right now is an acronym. PEMDAS. And this stands for, Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. Those words don't mean anything, so you have to turn them into mathematical terms. Parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. And we're going to get a little bit more in depth about this order of operations. Please note that I'm going to have these letters here the whole time so we can remember the order of mathematical ways to do things that we're going to use here. Okay, so we have our equation right here. In parentheses, 2 plus 6 times 3. So, parentheses is the first thing we have to do. So, before we multiply 2 plus 6 times 3, we're going to have to add 2 plus 6. So, we would just quickly know that 2 plus 6 is 8. So we're going to change that to 8 in parentheses times 3. So that our next step is to figure out what 8 times 3 is. And if you know multiplication, you know that 8 times 3 is 24. Which brings us to our answer, 24. So that was pretty simple, but the longer the problem, the more difficult it becomes. Okay, next is exponents. And this time you'll notice I have 2 equations on the board. We're going to start with just having the exponent as our main thing. So, 8 squared plus 6. First, we're going to figure out what 8 squared is. Now, this little 2 makes it 8 times 8 plus 6. So that is how you would write it out. Now, 8 times 8 is 64. So that makes us 64 plus 6. Now, if we do the math in our head, we know 64 plus 6 is 70, which is our answer. So, as you know, exponents make things pretty difficult. But if we just write it out like that, the equation becomes more simple. So now, this time, we have parentheses and an exponent. So what we're going to do is, in our order, parentheses first. So what's in parentheses? 3 plus 4. So we're going to add that together, and that is 7. So 7 squared minus 7. Next is exponents. So 7 squared. 7 squared is 7 times 7 minus 7. That's a lot of 7s right there. Next, we're going to multiply 7 times 7, which is 49, minus 7. Then we're just going to do the basic subtraction, and we know that 49 minus 7 is 42, which is our answer in this case. This time, you'll notice that I added both multiply and divide to our little list we have going on here. And that is because when you do multiply and divide, you do it in whatever order comes first. So in this equation, 9 times 2 divided by 6, we would do the multiplication symbol first instead of the division symbol. So if we read this like a sentence, it would be 9 times 2 divided by 6 equals. So in our order of operations, we know there's no parentheses and there's no exponents. So we're going to go straight into multiplying. So we know that 9 times 2 is 18. So it gives us 18 divided by 6 is our answer. And then we have divide. So 18 divided by 6 is I just want to make it clear that let's say this equation was different and it was 9 divided by 3 times 2. Just because multiply comes first in our little acronym doesn't mean we would multiply first. We would go with division because division is the first symbol in this mathematical sentence. So we would do 9 divided by 3, which is 3, times 2, which is 6. So that is adding in the multiply and divide. Alright, we have all of our words here, which means it's time to add and subtract. So right now, we have our little equation, 3 times 6 plus 4. Now, we know since earlier, multiply comes first. So we would multiply 3 times 6, which is 18, carry down that plus 4. So then, we would do our addition. 18 plus 4 is 22. Circle that, and that's our answer. Now, we're going to come back and do a very, very complicated problem. Okay, we're back, and we have our problem. I'm putting these right here so we remember our steps. So our problem is 4 divided by 2 plus 8 in parentheses plus 6 to the power of 3 times 6. That is a pretty lengthy equation, so let's get to it. Okay, so our first step is parentheses. So we would bring down all of this. 4 divided by 2 plus 14 to the power of 3 plus, that's not plus, times 6. Next step, we know that the next step is exponents. So that would be 4 divided by 2 plus 14 times 14 times 14 times 6. So this technically isn't completing our step. We still have to figure out the 14 times 14 times 14. So let's do that up here. 14 times 14. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So we know that 4 times 4 is 16. So put that 6, put that up here. 4 times 5, 4 times 1 is 4. Plus that 1 is 5. 0, 4, 1. Add this together. 196. 196 times 14, 24. 36 plus 2, 8. And that is 7, 0, 6, 9, 1. 4, 14. 2,604. That's a pretty big number. So we're going to write that down here. 4 divided by 2 plus our 44 times 6. Like I said, this is a pretty lengthy equation. So we're going to do our division. 4 divided by 2 is 2 plus 2,744 times 6. Next, we have our addition, our multiplication right here. So that would be, I'm going to do this right over here. Move sides for a minute. We have 2,744 times 6. You can always try and do this at the beginning and see if we match up with the same answer. Well, I got 16,464, which means down here we are going to write 2 plus 16,464 464. Now, this one's pretty easy. Just add 2 to the bottom, and our final answer should be 16,466. Well, if you can do this problem, you can do most order operations. So, I hope this was a helpful video, and remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Signing off from the sunny side up.